from our side, as a supervisor, we of course look very close to have this very fine balance between growth and compliance, risk management. We think that, for example, compliance is not a cost but an investment. If a company seeks a long-term success, we saw what happens in crypto sector, when companies concentrate on the short term and not on the long term, mainly they fail. So I think for the next couple of years, we have, of course, hope development and very balanced development in terms of growth, new technologies, adoption of new technologies as AI, but also good investment into compliance and a long-term success.
Thank you so much for taking time to speak to us today.
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure meeting you, but for those who have not yet had the opportunity to meet you, can you please briefly tell us who you are and what you do?
I'm a board member at the Central Bank of Lithuania, which is at the same time the supervisory authority for the whole financial sector in Lithuania. So I'm responsible for the supervision part of the central bank. Okay,
now we've seen an enormous focus and emphasis on the fintech space in Lithuania over the past years. Can you tell me a little bit from the central bank's perspective, why did you choose to empower this part of the industry?
Well, several years ago, we kind of thought together with other institutions. So I would like to stress that it was not an idea which came from one institution. It was a discussion between institutions and the private sector. And then we saw that we have two most important things for anything to happen, potential and the will to do something. So historically, we had a potential and talent in IT sector, both in academia and in private sector. And then we thought that maybe we can kind of employ this talent into the financial sector and to connect these two areas. And then we saw that fintech ecosystem could be developed. So, historical fundamental background and in IT sector, and then very close cooperation between institutions, so the central bank, Ministry of Finance, and other institutions, and the private sector. We decided we should have a plan. If you want something to happen, you need to have a plan first, and the institutions together with the private sector developed a plan how to develop a fintech ecosystem in the country with certain ideas, bullet points, KPIs, and that all started, 5-7 years ago. And now we're here, and we have quite impressive results, I think.
Indeed. So this combination of will, of potential, and a well-executed plan is what's behind the tremendous growth that we've seen in the ecosystem locally.
Yes, indeed. Now we have around 150 licensed fintech companies in the country, and additionally around 150 unlicensed, non-licensed companies which provide basically consultancy, IT infrastructure, and things like that, specifically for fintech companies. So in total, 250 companies operating in this area. Another indicator which kind of shows our ecosystem is 27 million Europeans are being served by financial institutions developed and licensed in Lithuania. So basically every 10th European is getting financial services from Lithuania, and most of these services are related, of course, with the fintech ecosystem, so payment services, investment services, and wealth tech services, crowdfunding, and the like.
That's incredible numbers. Now, I get the sense that there's a very collaborative nature behind everything that's happening in Lithuania. What else would you say is unique about the ecosystem?
Yes, I think collaboration and close contact between different parties is I think, one of our kind of key success factors, I would say. We are a small country, so it's quite easy to communicate. We really have a long-standing, cooperation history, successful history between institutions, Ministry of Finance, Central Bank, supervisory authority is inside the central bank. The central bank is also providing payment infrastructure services, which of course is very important for paytech institutions. And then we of course have a very constructive relation with the private sector. Last year we developed a second edition of the FinTech development plan.
Yeah.
And private sector played a crucial role developing this plan and also took some responsibilities because, for example, in this plan, private sector has some certain things to do also, how to contribute to our sector, that the whole ecosystem would safely develop and would meet, of course, we as a supervisor was also very concerned about risk management and compliance culture. So all these things are included in this comprehensive plan, and basically now it's the second phase of the development.
We saw in the first iterative version of the strategy, we saw a lot of expansive growth. Now we have the second version of the plan. What's changed, and what differentiates this new phase of development from the early beginnings?
So at the beginning, of course, the idea was to have many more companies coming into Lithuania, both licensed and unlicensed, and to start the operations to kind of build the ecosystem. Now the second phase, I think, is about the quality, the high value financial services, the reputation, and things like that. So now we have some kind of names which are known all over Europe. Last year we got some newcomers entering our market. We also see some interest of new market players, but also developed market players which are operating all over the world, and they are also thinking maybe to open some branch or some part of their institution, do some services here in Lithuania. So I think now we're entering a next level of quality, both in terms of financial sectors, also compliance culture and risk management.
For companies that might be thinking of Lithuania as the place to bring their fintech startups, what are the attributes that the central bank wants to highlight of why Lithuania is a good place to consider setting base?
So first of all, we have an ecosystem in place already, well-running ecosystem. So you can find some talent here. You can find third-party providers for AML, IT, and other functions. You can have an ecosystem where we have a established close dialogue with the regulator. So we have periodic, trainings, events, and discussions. We also have established a private-public ML Center of Excellence. That's another kind of example of close collaboration between private and public sector.
Yeah.
We have a dedicated Center of Excellence for ML prevention, where both institutions and the private sector takes part, both financially as a founders of the center, and of course the idea is to share the knowledge, to learn from each other and to grow as an ecosystem.
Yeah.
So all these things, I think it's makes our country a good platform for growth all across Europe, because financial services could be provided all across Europe, 300 million customers, and I think it's a good place to start both new business, but also the established business, just gaining from this edge of talent and availability of services in our country.
I couldn't agree more. Now, we are about to see the third edition of the Fintech Day happening in February. Now, the event has been gaining momentum over the past 3 years. It's becoming much more international. In your view, why are events like the Fintech Day important to help develop and expand the local ecosystem?
It's a possibility to meet a lot of different people from private sector, from other companies, from potential partners, but also from the regulatory side and public sector, and you know, you meet new people, you learn something, you get potential partners maybe for the future. So all these events are important to reflect what has happened, what you can learn from the past, and how you can be stronger in the future.
Yeah, and for those that might have not yet had the opportunity to experience what's happening in Vilnius and what's happening in the Lithuanian ecosystem, what would you tell them so that they don't miss the third edition of the Fintech Day?
So Vilnius is already a fintech hub in Europe, and if you are working in the fintech industry and you haven't been in one of the hubs across Europe, you must come. And if you have already been there in Vilnius, I think you will come anyway. So
words that resound very, very loudly indeed. Now, Simonas, just to close, help me understand, what is the vision that the central bank has for the fintech sector within the next 3 to 5 years?
I think from our side, as a supervisor, we of course look very close to have this very fine balance between, you know, growth and compliance, risk management. We think that, for example, compliance is not a cost but an investment. And if a company seeks a long-term success, we saw what happens in crypto sector, you know, when companies concentrate on the short term and not on the long term, mainly they fail. So I think for the next couple of years, we of course hope development and very balanced development in terms of growth, new technologies, adoption of new technologies as AI, but also good investment into compliance and a long-term success.
Fascinating, absolutely. So it's definitely worth coming to the Fintech Day to explore what's happening, to experience how the strategy and the plan that Lithuania has put in motion years back is yielding results, and also to learn what's the vision and what's next in the stages of development of the fintech ecosystem in the country.
I agree with you.
Simonas, thank you so much for coming and meeting us. It's been a pleasure, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing you again in February, on the 8th of February for the Fintech Day.
Thank you, and welcome to Vilnius once again.
Thank you, Simonas.